Hi, everybody. This is Peter Schiff. It is Saturday, February 11th, 2012. Well, when it comes to Obamacare, Nancy Pelosi once said that we had to pass the bill to find out what was in it. Well, we passed it, and we are finding out what's in it. One thing that's in it is the requirement that employer-provided health insurance include free contraception for female employees. Free means no cost. No copay, no deductible, absolutely free. Now, the political firestorm that this is generating is all centered around the separation of church and state, whether Catholic churches should be subject to the requirement or exempt. After all, the Catholic Church is against birth control. They should not be forced to supply free birth control to their employees. And I get that issue. But it is obscuring a much larger issue that really should be the focus of discussion, but isn't even being talked about. It isn't about church and state. It's about state. It's about whether the government has the right to require anybody, any employer, to provide free birth control to its employees. There is nothing in the Constitution that gives the government the authority to mandate this, but they're doing it anyway. And of course, it has nothing to do with insurance. Birth control is not insurance. Birth control is birth control. It is not health insurance. Now, Obama is claiming that, well, as part of health care, women need access to birth control. They have access to birth control. It's there. They just have to pay for it. They buy it. Remember, we're talking about insurance that you get from your employer. If you're a woman and you've got a job that's good enough to come with health insurance, you can afford to buy contraception. No question about it. If you don't have it, it's not because you have no access, it's because you don't want it. And of course, insurance is about things that are very expensive and that are unlikely to happen. Birth control is not that expensive, and it's going to happen. You make a decision to use birth control. Therefore, it doesn't work for insurance. 100% of the cost is guaranteed, which means it has to be built in to the premium. But I think the bigger issue is going to be the moral hazard when women are buying their own birth control. They're shopping around. Their price is a consideration. When they get it for free, price is no consideration. So the big change is going to be that women who are currently buying their contraceptions won't buy it anymore on their own. They'll just get it for free through their health insurance. So right now, let's say a woman is trying to evaluate the birth control that's best for her. If she isn't very sexually active, she might decide it doesn't make sense to spend a lot of money on a birth control pill. Maybe I'll just use a condom. Maybe I'll just use a diaphragm. They're not going to have that consideration anymore. Well, it doesn't matter what birth control costs. You'll take the most expensive option because it's free. And there's also a bigger issue here, too. It's not just the customer who is no longer price sensitive. It's the manufacturers. It's the companies that make the birth control devices. They now know that their clients, their customers rather, don't care what their products cost. So what's going to happen to prices? They're going to start rising rapidly, just like college tuition, just like anything the government subsidizes. So now birth control is going to be much more expensive, and it's going to be overutilized. Right? Some women might decide to use the pill and condoms and a diaphragm. Who knows? I mean, what about, diaphragms? You're supposed to clean them. I guess you wash them after you use them. Well, just throw it out. Get another one. It's free. Right? What if you lose it? No problem. No one even has to take care of it. If you lose it, you're going to get another one for free. You can have as many as you want. I've heard that you can get prescriptions. The way the condoms works is women will get prescriptions for condoms. So men are not going to buy condoms anymore. Why should they? Women get them for free. And is there any limit to how many they can get? I suppose not, because, if you're very promiscuous, you obviously need a lot of condoms, and I don't think they can ask you these questions, so they got to make it unlimited. Well, people are going to start to think of all sorts of ways they can use condoms or other birth control devices that have nothing to do with birth control. There are women that take the birth control pill because it's good for their complexion. So obviously a lot more women are going to do that. I mean, women who are sterile, who don't even need the birth control pill, might start taking it because it helps their complexion. When the government provides you with something for free, people are inclined to use it. If they have to pay for it, well, then they're going to decide whether or not it's worth the money. But once it's free, well, you take it. I mean, people are going to start to think of all sorts of creative uses for birth control devices that have absolutely nothing to do with contraception. Take condoms. I mean, balloons cost money. If condoms are free, let's just get condoms. I mean, you could give condoms to your kids. They can play with them. Clowns are going to start to make balloon animals out of condoms. Why not? They cost nothing. The problem is when you get something for free, behavior changes. People, you use things a lot more when they're free, and you drive up the cost. So the government thinks that providing free birth control is going to cost a certain amount of money. Well, they're basing the costs on the behavior that exists today. They're basing it on what birth control costs today. Well, what it costs today when people are shopping around and when manufacturers are faced with a competitive reason to keep their prices down, that has nothing to do with what birth control is going to cost in the future when neither the manufacturers nor the consumers have any concern for what the stuff costs. All of this behavior is going to be changed because of government. It's moral hazard, but it has nothing to do with insurance. If you're going to make the argument that by giving women birth control, more women are going to use it, and you're going to cut down on unnecessary pregnancies, and therefore you're going to reduce other medical costs. I don't even buy that argument, because just because women have birth control doesn't mean they're going to use it. Just because women have the pill doesn't mean they're going to take it, right? I mean, if they're not buying it anyway, they're not responsible. Just because you give them something for free isn't going to change their behavior. They might have birth control that they end up not using. But even if the president is correct that it will cut down on some unwanted pregnancies, it still doesn't make it insurance. Because by that argument, why aren't insurance companies being required to provide free food? I mean, if you don't eat, you're going to get sick. Now, maybe not all food should be free, but certainly vegetables. A lot of people don't get enough vegetables. Maybe insurance companies should provide free vegetables. What about a gym membership? If you work out, if you stay in shape, you're going to be healthier. So why don't we require healthcare companies to give us free gym memberships? What about clothing? Certainly winter clothing. I mean, you need a winter coat. If you go out on a cold day, you can get sick. You can catch pneumonia. We should force insurance companies to give us free clothing. I mean, that's really all it's about. Obama wants to get the vote of women by promising them something for free. Hey, I got you free birth control. You don't have to pay for birth control anymore because the government's going to give it to you for free, or your employer is going to give it to you for free. Look, nothing is free. There is no free lunch, and there is no free birth control. Women are going to pay through the nose through birth control once it's free. Right? Because once it's free, it's going to be very expensive because of the overutilization, because of the lack of a competitive free market discipline. So let's say that right now women are paying $500 a year, let's say, for their birth control. Well, what if because of government, birth control now costs on average $1,000 a year? And employers now have to pay their female employees $1,000 a year less in order to cover the added cost of giving them free contraception. So now they have free contraception, but it costs them a lot of money because they're getting $1,000 less in their paycheck so they can get free contraception. If they didn't get free contraception, they would have had the extra $1,000 and they would have spent $500 on contraception. Of course, it's also going to backfire and cause employers to discriminate against women because they don't have to provide men with contraception, just women. And so it's the cost of employing women that is going to go up. So employers are going to hire fewer women, or they're just going to have to pay women less because the women now have to compete with men who don't come with that extra cost, because it's all part of employment costs. But the concept here is, I think, what's important. Not only is Obama's plan going to make the healthcare crisis worse by driving up the cost of health insurance and driving up employment costs, therefore creating more unemployed people. But what about this concept? What about the camel's nose under the tent? If we can require insurance companies to give us free contraception, What about other insurance? What about automobile insurance? Why doesn't that come with free maintenance? After all, if I don't maintain my car, it might be more likely that I'm going to get into an accident. What about free tires? If my tread is wearing low, I might get into an accident. How about free tires? Anytime you require an insurance company to provide you something for free, all you do is increase the cost of the insurance. And you take away choice. What if there's a woman who doesn't want free birth control? She'd rather have a bigger paycheck, or maybe she'd rather have more vacation time or something else. The government takes away the choice. The government says, no, you have to get free birth control whether you want it or not. Even if you happen to be a Catholic woman who is objects to the use of birth control and therefore doesn't use it, you still have to have your pay reduced because it covers all women. This is not a cost that is incurred as you use the birth control. If you're gonna force insurance companies to provide free contraception to all women, then that is going to apply to every woman that a company hires, whether or not the woman actually uses the birth control or not. It's built into the cost of the insurance. In fact, I think a lot of women, once they get free birth control, even if they don't want it, they're going to get it. Why not? I mean, you're paying for it anyway. Your salary is reduced so that you can have free birth control. So, fill up a bucket of condoms or get a whole, batch of diaphragms. Get a bunch of birth control pills. I mean, use them for your complexion, or maybe people will start selling them. Maybe we'll have cottage industries in the United States. All sorts of women will have their own websites where they're selling contraception to people in other countries who don't get it for free. I mean, this whole thing is absolutely ridiculous as to what is going to happen. Now, of course, once people start abusing it, well, then you're going to have all sorts of ways to counteract that, where the government's going to have to limit how many diaphragms you can have per year, or how many condoms you can have, or what type of birth control pills. And of course, the companies, they are going to now. What if they can come up with a certain form of birth control that is a little bit better, but it just costs a fortune? What if it's really, really expensive, but slightly better? Well, everybody's going to go for that, right? Because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the cost benefit isn't worth it. If it costs you nothing, then any additional protection is worth it. So why not use it? And of course, if you can get some added cosmetic benefits, the more benefits that manufacturers can include with their contraceptive devices, the more appealing they make them, the more likely it is that those are the devices that are going to be selected. So this is a recipe for runaway, out-of-control costs for contraception. It is not going to deliver the benefits that Obama promises. This is a cheap political trick to try to fool women into thinking they're getting something for nothing from the government, when the people who will end up being hurt the most are the very women who believe they're getting something for free from the government. But the bigger issue, again, is the principle, is government power. The government has no authority to do this, and they're doing it anyway. And where is the outrage? Where is the objection to the basic fact that the government cannot require an insurance company or an employer to provide something that the government thinks people should have to their employees for free? Right? That's again, birth control, whether it's food, whether it's clothing. Just because the government thinks we should have something doesn't mean employers have to provide it. It doesn't mean that insurance companies have to provide it. And the more mandates we put on things, the more expensive we're going to make it. We need more choice when it comes to insurance. We need fewer mandates. What we need is for employees and employers alike to be able to decide what kind of coverage they want. We need to separate insurance from employment. That's what needs to happen. We need to reform the tax code so that people aren't getting their insurance through their employers. They get their health insurance the same way they get their fire insurance or their automobile insurance. And then let them buy insurance for things that are very unlikely to happen and that are very expensive when they do. So it's a real insurance market. We don't have that right now. That's why insurance is so expensive, because it's not insurance and because nobody buys it. Everybody gets it for free from their employer, and so it costs a fortune. And what Obama is doing, instead of recognizing why we have a healthcare problem, why we have an insurance problem, why the medical costs and insurance costs are spiraling out of control, what does Obama do? He is pursuing policies that will actually exacerbate the very problems that he thinks he's trying to solve. Anyway, that's it for today. You know, if you're not a subscriber to my YouTube channel, make sure and subscribe. Also, don't forget to like the video so we can encourage more people to view it. In fact, circulate it around. We need to raise the bar on this argument. We need to take the focus off the religious aspect and bring it more to the constitutional aspect and to the economic aspects of what President Obama is trying to do. And if you want to hear more on this and get my take on other issues, don't forget I do the Peter Schiff Show at schiffradio.com 5 days a week from 10 a.m. noon Eastern every day. And if you can't listen live, just go to schiffradio.com. Any time of day, we loop it continuously so you can listen at your leisure. Again, bye for now. Take care, everybody.